Welcome to True Crime Horror Stories, where I, your host, will be bringing you the most terrifying true stories from around the world. Today's story comes from a Reddit user. I recently moved into a new, old house. It's beautiful, but it has a strange, suffocating silence to it. As I was exploring my new home, I found an old antique mirror in the attic covered in cobwebs and dust. I took it down, brought it to my room, and put it on my dresser. Every morning when I wake up, I do the same routine. I get out of bed, make my bed, and get ready for my day, while watching YouTube videos on my phone. This morning was like any other, until I noticed that the girl in the mirror was uncopying my movements exactly. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, or maybe my phone's battery was draining and the screen was glitching. I shrugged it off and continued on with my morning routine. When I noticed that my reflection was taking a long time to do what I was doing. For example, if I raised my hands to fix my shirt, her hands would be slow to follow. If I picked something up, she would take a couple of seconds to do the same. I thought this was pretty strange, but I didn't think much of it. However, as the days went on, the delays got worse and worse. Sometimes she would be too busy doing her own thing and wouldn't copy me at all. When I would leave the room, I would often hear things crash and break, but I would never see anything on the camera. Or when I would come back into the room, my things would be fine. So I assumed that she was just being clumsy and knocked things over in the other room. One night, I was getting ready for bed and noticed that my reflection was just staring off into space with a blank look on her face. I waved at her and she didn't respond. I walked over and tapped on the glass and she jumped and stared at me with wide eyes. I smiled and she slowly began to copy me as I got ready for bed. I brushed my teeth and washed my face while she did the same, albeit very slowly. She would pause and stare at me, and then continue on with whatever I was doing. I went to bed and fell asleep. The next morning I woke up and noticed that the events of the previous evening had left marks on my face and arms. I looked in the mirror and saw scratches on my face and arms that were not there the night before. Of course, I was scared out of my mind and didn't want to stay in that house another minute. But since no one was coming to help me for another 24 hours, I had to wait. All day I noticed that the scratches were getting worse, and there were more of them appearing everywhere. That night, I decided to do the same thing again. I got up, turned on my phone's camera, and began my nightly routine. But the whole time I kept glancing at the mirror. She mimicked my movements, but now there was a creepy, jagged grin on her face that wasn't there before. She was also wearing a dress that wasn't mine. I backed away slowly, keeping my eyes locked on hers. Suddenly, she raised her hand, the one that wasn't mine. She pressed her palm against the glass. At first it looked like a small spiderweb crack, but it quickly spread outwards. My blood ran cold as I watched the shards hit the floor behind me. I turned and screamed as the thing in the mirror smiled wider, baring its teeth, and that's the end of the story. That was a horror story from a Reddit user. You heard it here first. If you liked this story, please give the video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can be the first to hear these terrifying tales. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.